Hello and welcome to today's video. A couple of months ago, I was getting a little nostalgic and I was going through some of my early videos and my early top 5 lists and things like that. And one pen just kept coming up and up and up, and that pen was this, the TWSBI Diamond 580, not the ALR, not the AL. The original 580, which I know is not even the original. The original was, there was the 540 and all those other pens. But what I realized is that I'd never actually done a review of the 580. So I'm going to do a little one today. Because this is a pen that I've spoken about it a lot, and I feel it deserves its own, video. I've done videos where I've shown the ALRs and things like that. This is the 580, so let's get cracking. Now, this pen, when it comes packaged in the traditional TWSBI way. It is in that hard, clear plastic box. It comes with a little TWSBI wrench and some silicone grease, because these pens are designed to be maintained by you, the user. And that's one of the things that I love about TWSBI. This particular pen is my personal TWSBI 580, and it's a pen that I get a lot of use out of. I fill it up and write with it regularly, and as I said, it's seen some things and been some places. So let's start at the top of the pen. In the 580, you've got the TWSBI logo under a little bubble, a plastic bubble there, which is a really nice touch. The clip is attached to that top metal band, and it runs, it's a springy clip, and it, sort of has a nice profile against the cap of the pen. The pen swells out. You've got this TWSBI center band that says TWSBI Diamond 580 Taiwan on the back there. The body of the pen is faceted, and it's faceted with little diamond shape facets. It's hard to sort of get on camera, but they sort of swell out and taper down and in this sort of pattern around the pen. It's got a nice textile feel to it. Metal band there, and then the piston knob. It is a screw cap pen, and it comes off in around one turn, maybe a tiny bit more, and reveals this section. There's an O-ring there that helps cap the pen, and then some threads which are not sharp at all. Then a decent length section which has a metal ring on the end, and then of course the nib. The section isn't super thick, but it's usable. It's a good width for me. It's a nice, comfortable width. When you unscrew it, you can see in the cap, it's got a cap liner there. It's got a little bit of ink in it, because this is, as I said, the pen that I use a lot. It's a slightly off color to the rest of the cap, something that could potentially be improved, but it does secure nice and tight, as you can see, where the nib section there rests perfectly against it. What TWSBI try to do is they try to take, and particularly like with a pen like this, is they take traditional fountain pen elements, like the piston filling system, and like a high quality nib, and then put it into something that is both traditional but also has like a modern industrial design. And I think they've done a really interesting thing with the 580. It's got these big metal components in the clip and the cap band and down into the piston, mechanism. And then they take that a step further with the ALR, of course. It is a piston filling fountain pen that is designed to be affordable and usable, and as I said, maintainable and, disassembled and put back together and tinkered with by you, the user. So, I have this in a medium. Medium is my stock standard nib size. This also comes in the extra fine, medium broad, and the 1.1 millimeter nib. It is a kind of proprietary nib made by Jowo. It's kind of like a 5.5 sort of size nib, but it's well in proportion with the size of the pen, and it feels great to write with. A lot of people have issues with TWSBI, that the nibs are too dry or whatever the case may be, and maybe I've gotten lucky, but I've not found that across any of the TWSBI pens I've owned. The fines have been wet enough, and this is across the Goes, the Ecos, the Classic, the Precision, the ALRs, the VAC 700. I enjoy what TWSBI have done with their nibs. Now, the piston here, holds about, the capacity of it is about 1.9 mil. So that's one of the big advantages of a piston filling fountain pen, is the fact that the ink capacity is so much higher. You're filling the body of the pen with ink. And this piston mechanism is reliable. As I said, they provide you with the silicone grease, so you can grease that piston there. It is not the kind of silicone grease you get to turn a pen into an eyedropper. Different kind of beast. It's more a lubricating silicone grease that just won't interact badly with the ink itself. You can also buy separate nib sections with the housing, just so you know, like they are available. If you get a pen and you want something broader or finer or whatever the case may be, or if you spring the nib or whatever, you know, it is doable. The pen technically doesn't post, but it technically also does. It sits on the end there just, and it's quite secure on there, and that's part of the problem. I'm going to come back to that a little bit later. But it does make an incredibly long and almost cumbersome pen when it is posted. If you're not familiar with what a piston filling mechanism actually does, is this bit here behind this silver ring is a knob, and you turn that, and this little valve runs up and down in the body of the pen. So you dip it into the ink and you turn it so that the piston is right down the bottom there, and then once the nib is submerged in ink, you then turn the knob and it draws ink up into the body of the pen. It kind of works like a converter does, but it's the whole body of the pen as opposed to just the bit you put in. Size comparison time now with the Lamy Safari. You can see it's ever so slightly longer than the Lamy Safari, only by a couple of millimeters, and it's not sort of long enough that you feel that difference in length. Once again, uncapped, it comes in about the same. The nib isn't heaps longer than the Lamy nib. Like, it's only a couple of millimeters sort of longer there, and making it not quite that full sort of number 6 size, but it's nice enough length that you have a decent sort of, you know, length holding it away from the page to make it a very comfortable writer. As I said, posted it becomes a super long pen. The Lamy Safari is a long pen when posted, so the TWSBI 580 here, just ridiculously long really. So what are the measurements of the TWSBI Diamond 580? Well, capped, it's 142. Uncapped, it's 130, which is a good length, as I said. Nice sort of size, good in the hand, not so sharp threads and anything to sort of get in the way, very comfortable. Then posted, it is 180 millimeters, so big. The grip section there is 10 millimeters, like around the middle there, so it's an okay size. As I said, it's not a huge section, but it is comfortable. And the pen weighs 28 grams, 14 in the body and 14 in the cap. Now, as I said, if you post it, it becomes a big pen. It also becomes back weighted. So unposted is the best way to go with this pen. TWSBI pens generally are not the best posting pens. They either have to post onto O-rings or they just become cumbersome. It's just the way they are. Let's do a writing sample now. TWSBI Diamond 580, medium steel nib. The ink here is a TWSBI ink. I thought, why not? It is blue-black. Interesting blue-black, like similar in ways to like the Pilot blue-black, where it's got a really big, strong blue undercurrent there. But as it dries, and if it's, you know, not sort of super spread out like that in this writing, it'll dry to be, you know, fairly dark, but it is a slow-drying ink, and in this quite wet TWSBI, like that's with no pressure putting down on the page, we're getting a fair amount of ink down. It's a wet writer. Let's see it in actual proper action. You can hear it's quite smooth. Not the smoothest pen, but it is very smooth. Quick writing. Not an issue whatsoever. At all. At all. I've never had a problem with this pen writing. Wet inks, dry inks, it's consistent. Reverse writing. Look, It's not the best, but it is possible. It is a stiff nib. Do not try and flex this nib. A couple of reasons not to flex this nib. A lot of the pen body is plastic. You are putting stress on the housing and all of those kinds of things. If it's a stiff nib, if you push too hard, not only are you likely to damage the nib itself, you can damage other elements of the pen. And why would you want to do that? So, there it is writing. Strong, consistent line. Nice sort of almost broad medium. Wet, generous, consistent, very happy. So what are the pros and cons of the TWSBI 580? Well, one of the cons I want to say is across the board with TWSBI, and it's getting better, but there is always the potential for these pens to crack. There are certain stress points. Around here, they put a metal ring at the end there to assist in stopping cracking of the body around the piston knob. The big metal cap here stops cracking in the cap. And then also this metal ring here is to assist stopping cracking in the section and around, the top there. It's about stress points. If you drop this pen, it could crack. It shouldn't crack from everyday use, but these things have been known to happen. And as I said, TWSBI is getting better at that. The plastic they are using is getting better. And they also have a really great replacement program where you can contact them and get replacement parts for your pen. The other big con with this pen is the posting of the pen. And I said I was going to get back to that. Now, it posts super tight on there because it's not really designed to post. And part of the problem with that is that this is the piston knob, and the piston knob does not lock. It's not like some of these like Wing Sungs and things like that where you pop you pull the knob out to turn it and then lock it back down. This is free range. It will just go if you put the pressure on it. And if you put that cap on there, firstly, you're giving it a really good pivot point through, like some good leverage there with the clip, but also taking it off, it'll be easy to turn it, and you just turn the piston knob and the chance of you spilling ink becomes a million times higher. So it is an issue with this pen, but one of the only issues. Let's talk about the price. In Australia, this pen retails, and this is ridiculous, but it retails from anywhere from $70 to $90 depending on where you look. Now, that is ridiculous because the conversion of that is actually not far off the American price, which is $50 to $55. But that swing range is a little bit bizarre, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. And that's not on special. That is like stock standard prices that I have seen on, again, at certain retailers. I think at 70, it's a really great pen. I think at 90, it's a really good pen. So if you can get it towards the lower end of that price, I think you are getting a pen that is truly a very, very good pen. In fact, at one point in a video, I compared this as when I went down my nostalgic trip down memory lane. I kind of compared it to the Pelikan M805. It's not a dissimilar size. It's got some similar features. It's about, well, an eighth to a tenth of the price. And on the page, they both write very similarly. One is a gold nib, so there might be a bit more softness. But in terms of like the smoothness and the generosity of the nib, they're not far off. So you are getting a pretty decent pen for that price. Other massive, massive pros is the fact that it's got a really good piston system, and if it's well maintained, it'll last forever. And when I say well maintained, that is another pro. You can maintain this pen yourself. You get the knob to be able to take all of this apart. Like the tools, you can, the silicone grease to maintain it, easy. Another big pro for this pen is the nib. As you saw in the writing sample, it's smooth, it's wet, it's super reliable. Is it one that's a rare one out of the box? Like, I haven't tuned this nib. Yes, it's been used for a number of years, but I haven't tuned it. I haven't gone out and had it ground and made wetter. This is how it comes. I don't touch TWSBI nibs. Like, this is how they come. And I found that across the board, my TWSBI experience has been really great. The other thing I love is the ink capacity. With a nib that writes that smooth and that wet, you do end up writing quite a lot, and you do end up using a lot of ink. So it's great to have a pen that holds a decent amount of ink. So as I said, if you can get this at the lower end of the price point, you are getting a great deal. It is a good pen that writes beautifully, that almost any pen user should actually be really happy with. So this was the TWSBI Diamond 580. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below, or you can contact me on any of my videos here, or drop me an email which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.